Aloha and welcome to the fourth episode of GeoTV. This episode will be a little bit different since we are here, as you can see, on Hawaii for the 2024 Geothermal Rising Conference. Have you ever wondered what it takes to organize a conference like this? Stay tuned because we had the chance to sit down with some of the people behind it.
I am so proud of all the new employees that we have here at GRC. They're living outside their comfort zone, doing things that are new. We have over 1,000 attendees, more than 100 posters, almost 200 papers. They're just knocking it out of the park. Organizing a conference is kind of like organizing chaos. Imagine making the biggest grocery list you've ever made and having to go through it, do things that you've never done before. You have to be kind of a jack of all trades. So you have to be an AV person, an IT person, a personality, all of those things, and maintain calm. Even when I am panicked, I look happy and smiley on the surface, but I promise you, those duck feet are paddling underneath the water.
I'm excited about how we are bringing the entire geothermal community together and the conversations that are going to be had here in Hawaii, especially around community engagement, marketing and communications, and how the geothermal industry can improve those types of activities.
Geothermal is growing, so we always have new people coming in, new members. We've kind of modified some of our processes to make it easier for people to register who are not necessarily members, and just the volume. I've seen the conference grow from 750 people to 1,500 people last year. Obviously in Hawaii, slightly less than that, but still, that's a lot of growth in just a few years.
The geothermal community is a very vibrant and close-knit community. So Geothermal Rising brings this community together so that we can share knowledge and network and make business deals and talk about new research opportunities and new research that's being conducted in universities. Those are things that happen at the GRC every single year, and we're excited that Geothermal Rising gets to help create this vibrant opportunity for the geothermal community to connect. One of the things we're really excited about that stands out for this GRC is our Indigenous Geothermal Symposium. It was the first couple days before the main GRC takes place, and it brought together Indigenous and community members from around the globe to come together to talk about geothermal, to talk about how their communities work with their governments to develop geothermal and how it benefits Indigenous communities. And they shared that knowledge with other Indigenous communities that want to learn more about geothermal to see how they can develop it on their lands. And that was a conversation that has been, from what I hear, people have been gushing about it, saying really positive things about how this is a conversation that hasn't happened yet, and we're all really excited that we've been able to facilitate this discussion here at the Geothermal Rising Conference on Hawaii.
I think for me, it's the engagement, walking away with that new contact, that new idea, and also with the Indigenous Geothermal Symposium this year, a better understanding of the Hawaiian culture and the rich history here, and understanding that we need to make that human-to-human connection no matter where we are.
One of the biggest takeaways that I hope geothermal community members take away is how they need to change the way they market and communicate to external audiences. It's okay for us to talk to ourselves about piping infrastructure and power plants and turbines and subsurface characterization, and to show those images to each other when we're talking from one geologist or to another, or one engineer to another. But when we're talking to external audiences, whether that's the media, investors, policymakers, textbook publishers, students, the general public, we need to talk more about what the benefit is of geothermal to them. And they need to see different visuals on how geothermal affects them. So maybe that's a family eating dinner at night with the snow falling outside, and it's warm in their house because they're using geothermal heating and they have electricity from the nearby geothermal power plant. Or it's a hospital here in Hawaii that is getting its air conditioning from a geothermal well, and also its electricity from geothermal. So that conversation is what we hope to have at GRC this year, and that companies and individuals will sign the Declaration of Communication and be very active and proactive in changing the way they communicate to external audiences. I think one thing that's just really exciting is Geothermal Rising is our mission is to bring the whole entire geothermal ecosystem together. Everything from geothermal heat pumps to all of the direct use applications of geothermal to the robust types of power generation technologies, whether it's super hot rock or EGS, AGS, or traditional hydrothermal. And that's what we represent here. So we have companies and individuals from the entire ecosystem coming to talk and to share their knowledge and to network, and we're really excited to be here in Hawaii, and we really are appreciative of the welcome and that the Hawaiians have given us and that we've experienced so far being in their land.
And the whole team at GR for organizing such a fantastic conference. We are now at day one at the Geothermal Rising Conference 2024, and like Brian said, the whole ecosystem of geothermal is present at this event. We have students, we have innovative technology companies, we have government officials and investors, and we have gotten the opportunity to sit down with a few of them. Let's see about their reflections from the GRC conference and the future of geothermal.
Being a petroleum engineer, I started my career with developing oil and gas improvement and stuff. But once this low carbon technologies become a hotspot to cure the damage done by the oil and gas, I got interested in gas storage applications like carbon capture and geothermal. The advantages geothermal is it makes money as well as it is carbon free. Unlike other methods like carbon storage, we will be spending a lot to reduce the carbon emissions. But geothermal, in the other thing, it doesn't emit any carbon, and it is sustainable and it produces for a long time. This all shift my interest from oil and gas into geothermal industry. And later I came to know about the GR committee, and I'm part of a GR student chapter in my university. Through that, we are organizing webinars, seminars, and trying to teach people what is geothermal and the benefits of it and why we need to believe on geothermal in a longer term.
I think it's a very fun event because I get to meet all the students over here. Apart from that, we also have like a couple of events coming up. One of them is like a chat with Dr. Gary Richmond. He's a big name in the industry, and he really wants to talk to the students in order to get what kind of perspective we hold regarding the geothermal. And I think that is like a big thing because we get to meet such big people over here that are coming from industry. Apart from that, we also have other events. One of them is like a mentor-mentee program. So over there, we are basically going to be assigned one mentor, and they are going to tell us how we can perform better in our career in the perspective of geothermal side. So I think all these activities are really nice for building us connections as well as our career for sure.
So we offer a lot of services. I think the first one is that we have a nice platform for student chapters and student sections at different universities around the world, which we've really expanded lately. It's at a certain point, you might not necessarily connect with somebody in person who's studying geothermal halfway around the world, but if you at the University of Texas can connect with somebody else studying geothermal or interested in geothermal also at UT, then you can form a student section, and then of course that just promotes collaboration within UT, but also you can get a whole network of people from UT as students traveling to the conference together and things like that. We also host webinars, which I think is a great way for students to learn things that maybe they couldn't learn in the classroom setting, which is true for any facet of life. School can only teach you so much, but I think the webinars really are do a good job of connecting folks that are at NREL, in industry topics, even folks that might not necessarily be in the scientific side of geothermal, but work on the policy side and the outreach side, and that connects students with those folks, which really gives them a tangible, hey, here's what I could be doing in 20 years. Here's what it takes to be doing these things. Here's kind of pushing the new boundaries. Recently this year we started the GRC travel grant, so it helps students that want to come to the conference actually get the funds to be able to afford coming to the conference. It's pretty obvious here in Hawaii why that might be necessary, but otherwise we want to make it accessible. I don't think that financial barriers should be something to prevent somebody from being able to come present their research and things like that. We also have student committee scholarships. We have student research awards. We're doing webinars on even how to learn Python, so less so learning from somebody one-on-one, but actually learning a soft skill like programming. Just a lot of things like that. We represent students on the board of directors, so I think in a lot of ways we help provide students that sense of community, which sometimes is missing from geothermal, because it's a global industry, but it is pretty niche. And sometimes it can feel pretty separate from everybody else. But if you can get in touch with, and even on Zoom, be surrounded by people that love what you love, then you'll love it even more.
Excited about how geothermal is now moving from just being the heat beneath our feet to also being top of mind. And that is badly needed now because the fight against climate change is urgent, and it can not only be done with solar and wind and those other top of minds, that we need more sustainable baseload energy as well. And geothermal, over these last few days, I realized just how great the potential is and just how untapped it still remains. So I'm so excited for the future. I think there's 3 lessons potentially to be learned from Sweden. One is that we doubled the economy while we significantly reduced the emissions. And many people still think that you have to sacrifice in order to combat climate change. No, you don't. Secondly, if you look at the Swedish energy mix, it's renewables, it's solar, it's wind, it's hydro, it's energy efficiency, it's a mix. So it just proves that any one solution is not good enough. We need that mixture. And thirdly, public acceptance, even better, public pressure on the politicians. We see that Swedes are very proud of being asked, how can we learn from Sweden? And being a role model for other countries. And we need more role models. So if we can together show the path forward, I would be so excited to be part of that. So basically at the 2030 Secretariat, we are just aiming for our dear politicians to keep their promises. The Swedish climate policy legislation, the EU climate legislation, the global Paris Agreement. So we're not asking for anything that's not already been decided, but to deliver upon those promises, we need to be much more efficient. We need a rapid switch to renewables. We need to get the fossils out, not just the renewables in, but also the bad stuff out. And here clearly geothermal plays a pivotal, central role in us being able to say goodbye to those old baseload energy sources that are fossil and clearly not part of a sustainable future.
Breakthrough Energy is a network of organizations and initiatives founded by Bill Gates. We're all aligned towards decarbonizing our economy and achieving net zero by 2050. So I personally sit on the U.S. policy and advocacy team, where we're very focused on power sector initiatives, and in particular 2 things. 1, expanding high voltage transmission, and 2, deploying clean energy. So we're very excited about geothermal and next generation geothermal in particular, because we view it as a clean, firm technology. So not only is geothermal emissions free, but it's dispatchable, meaning it can provide electricity around the clock whenever it's called upon for as long as it's needed. So that's a very important complement to wind and solar energy, balancing their variability, and it can provide grid reliability and energy stability. So we're particularly excited about some of the new technological advances that are coming to geothermal energy. So Fervo, for example, is a company that is applying drilling techniques developed by the oil and gas industry and applying them to geothermal energy production. And so this has the effect of making geothermal resources accessible in different geologies and geographies. So now geothermal is relevant outside of the Western United States and frankly all over the world. So the US Department of Energy suggests that we need between 700 to 900 gigawatts of additional clean firm capacity by 2050 to decarbonize our energy system. We think that geothermal energy can play a huge role in that and provide a sizable portion of those gigawatts. The DOE Geothermal Liftoff report suggested that geothermal, next generation geothermal could provide at least 90 gigawatts by 2050. We think that is much higher. Geothermal, like most energy infrastructure, is subject to long development and risky development timelines. So we're thinking about ways that both on the federal and state level, we can shorten those timelines and de-risk investment in these important technologies. So fortunately, there's been a variety of legislative proposals in the US Congress that would streamline the permitting regime for geothermal, particularly on federal lands. So there's a bill right now in the US Senate. It's called the Energy Permitting Reform Act. It's a bipartisan bill, and it would go a long way in shortening these timelines. So right now, geothermal projects are subject to up to 6 environmental reviews, from exploratory activities all the way to power production. So by combining some of these and shortening others, we can go a long way to shorten the development timeline from 5 to 7 years to hopefully under 4. Other areas we're looking at include tax policy. We know that there's going to be a big tax negotiation in Congress next year. The Trump tax cuts are expiring. So we're hoping to add some additional incentives for geothermal energy to the tax code. So fortunately, geothermal right now is eligible for the tech-neutral ITC and PTC as enacted by the IRA. But one thing Breakthrough and some other partners are looking at is the idea of a clean firm tax adder. So this is essentially a bonus tax credit for technologies that are emissions-free and dispatchable. So this would benefit technologies other than geothermal, but it would help achieve cost parity with unabated natural gas, which will be essential for decarbonizing our system while maintaining grid reliability. The other thing we're looking at is ways to expand capital pools and de-risk these projects for investors. And one thing that we think, an important role that we think the federal government can play is providing commercial deployment funding, either through the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations or perhaps low-cost debt financing through the Loan Programs Office. So we know that geothermal has gotten very little funding compared to other technologies like nuclear or carbon management or long-duration energy storage in the bipartisan infrastructure law. So we're hoping to increase federal appropriations or authorizations to help provide some more grant funding to de-risk these projects.
So Elemental Impact is a platform of funds that invests in climate technologies for deep community impact. And that deep community impact can come across a whole different range of renewable energy projects and technologies. But geothermal is super exciting. We've done 2 companies now, investments in 2 companies that are really pushing the bounds of what geothermal is and can be with new technologies, smaller formats. And we're really finding those engagements and those projects to be not only good for the grid and good for renewable energy, but really good for the communities that they are investing in and building out. For Hawaii to achieve the 2045 clean energy goals that it's set for itself, we're really going to need an all of the above sort of approach in terms of all the different renewable technologies that the islands have to offer. Geothermal has been an important part of energy production here on the Big Island, but it has a history that was a little bit rough in the beginning in terms of the relationships with the Native Hawaiian community and the way that the projects were structured. So I think geothermal has a ton of potential, but it also has to sort of reinvent itself when it comes to how do you interact with communities and with native communities to make sure that the projects not only benefit the grid and push us toward our renewable energy goals, but also benefit the communities that they're in, and really build wealth and provide opportunities for income and labor and ownership, honestly, in geothermal spaces. So elemental impact, we're really investing at the edge of new technologies being developed. We're a nonprofit investor, and we're really trying to figure out where new technologies coming online can benefit communities, especially frontline communities that have been left behind in the energy transitions, as well as obviously contribute to the renewable energy space. So the ones that we're really excited about are the new technologies that are happening with geothermal, both sort of new ways of creating geothermal in areas that weren't viable before, but also like smaller footprints. One of the companies that we work with, Bedrock, is looking at doing geothermal under individual buildings. And so you've got this nice synergy between the site itself, the benefit to the building that it's located on, and really reducing the energy load in those buildings. So I think what's exciting about geothermal and what's exciting for Elemental is taking, building off of big plant sort of technology that geothermal has traditionally been focused in, and seeing it more in decentralized package sort of deployments. So one of the things that we're most excited about at Elemental right now is making sure that the companies we work with and the projects that get built really benefit local communities. And one of the companies we work with, actually, Fervo, we're doing apprenticeships for local community members to be employed in the pipeline for this big project in Utah. So 40 apprentices from the community are going to be training with a local university, learning on the job at Fervo's Beaver County plant. And it really, what it does is it makes true the promise that climate tech and renewable energy projects can be done decentralized all around the country, which means workforce and job opportunities can also be done all over the country, not in these centralized plant centers anymore. And that's what we're really looking forward to in terms of partnerships going ahead with geothermal.
It is now time to turn to our friends at ThinkGeoEnergy for the latest and the greatest news within geothermal world. Over to you, Carlo.
Thank you, Gabriela. Geothermal power developers are seemingly taking on the challenge to triple the installed capacity by 2030, with new projects and major milestones being announced one after the other. We at ThinkGeoEnergy continue to keep track of these developments to deliver up-to-date and well-informed updates to our readers. Even for operating geothermal projects, technological solutions continue to be explored to optimize operational aspects such as reservoir management. In Indonesia, Pertamina Geothermal Energy has developed a flow meter that allows for real-time measurement of two-phase flow and enthalpy. But how exactly does this flow meter work, and how does it help with the reservoir management? To learn more, we did this interview about the Flow2 Max flow meter at the recent IIGCE in Jakarta.
We call it, this device is a Flow2 Max. Flow2 Max is the device that can measure the mass flow rate and the enthalpy in real time and online. So we use this technology, comes from the orifice plates. We have designed the new specific of the orifice plates, and then specific design for the pressure tappings. Like you can see here, there are 4 tappings here, and then these tappings used for measuring the enthalpy, and then another 2 tappings using for measuring the enthalpy, the mass flow rate. And then all of the data will send it to the flow computer, the blue ones, and we have injected the correlation. All of the correlations injected here. So this flow computer will calculate automatically from the sensor, and then they will send to the web server and the control room, and also we can take from this part using the memory sticks. Currently, there are no technology or device that can measure mass flow rate, enthalpy in real time in one device, and that's a gap technology for a long time ago. So we have designs, and then we have developed for long times, and then we have thinking about this technology since 2009. Can you imagine that? So, and then I met Professor Sadiq and we have patient same aim to develop the two-phase flow measurement, and then we cook together, and then we design the best designs for measuring the mass flow rate and the enthalpy. Okay. The main objective for this device is very useful for the reservoir engineer. As you know, if we have production wells, so we have to make sure that wells have to produce as in a long contract. For example, like us in BGE, we have long-term contracts for 30 years. So we have to make sure during the contract we have to make sure the flow of the wells is continue as long as we have in the contract. So using this device, we can mitigate, we can monitor if there is a problem. So we have like mitigates in earlier, like problems in the wellbore, problems in the surface. So this device can help us about that. We want to expand the market of this Flow2Max. So firstly, we will focus on our fields. So we will install about 50 to 100 Flow2Max in our geothermal production wells in all of our fields, and then we move to markets in domestically and internationally. I think I learned about the geothermals before I joined with the BGE 2 years before, and then I heard someone the lecturer said that geothermal is the future of the energy. And then when I learned about the geothermal when I did BGE, and then someone said that like the same statement that geothermal is a future of energy. But today I want to say geothermal is current energy and the future is Flow2Max.
Okay. Meanwhile, work continues on another 35 megawatt power plant in Menengai by Globelec. When these two power plants go online, it will push Kenya well beyond the 1 gigawatt threshold for installed geothermal power generation capacity. This puts Kenya in a select club, joining the likes of the US, the Philippines, Indonesia, Turkey, and New Zealand. Speaking of New Zealand, Contact Energy has just very recently started full capacity operations of the 174 megawatt Tauhara geothermal power plant. This new power plant can deliver clean baseload power for up to 200,000 households in New Zealand and reduce CO2 emissions by up to 500,000 tons per year. New Zealand has a very active pipeline of geothermal projects in various stages of development. These include Te Mihi2, Taheke, and Top 2 in Kawerau. This is also on top of research initiatives, including research on supercritical geothermal, geoheat applications, and the injection of CO2. It's been a good year for geothermal, and there is clearly momentum being built that will carry over for the next several years. We at ThinkGeoEnergy remain ready to support the people and the groups that are making geothermal happen every single day.
Conference marked the launch of the Declaration of Communication, a joint effort for the industry, by the industry, to improve our messaging and overall external communication. Please make sure to sign the Declaration of Communication. If you haven't already, use the hashtag geothermal, and the link to the Declaration of Communication is in the description of this video. Have a look on how the launch went at the conference. It's like a white paper to improve our overall communication. What an amazing couple of days it has been here at the Geothermal Rising Conference 2024 in Hawaii. Thank you, GR, for collaborating with us on this episode of GeoTV. We are so excited to put it online with all of these voices from all across the ecosystem of geothermal. 1,200 people attended this conference. Stay tuned for more episodes of GeoTV. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And remember, the Earth has power. Let's switch it on.